Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. This is Rudy Reyes. I'm Facebook Live right now on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you for tuning in. I am Facebook Live. I sent out a tweet earlier saying, hey, look, everybody join the party. Come chat. Chat, would you? Chat. Be chatty Kathy. But I don't have Kathy on today. She took a vacation. But I can tell you this much. I have a guy who does the next best thing, even though Kathy's on vacation. Of course, somebody I enjoyed having on before. He's a fantastic talent at DYST Pittsburgh on Twitter. Make sure you follow him. Jason Havelka, welcome to the show. Jason, how are you? And happy Wildcard Saturday to you as well.
I'm fantastic, and it is happy Wildcard Saturday. Nice to be on.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're traveling, so we're going to try to really keep this as pinpoint, on target as humanly possible. Today's Wildcard Saturday. And for most people, for most teams in the NFL, they're not joining the party. They are otherwise sitting on the couch. And, of course, the entire AFC North minus one team has found their way into the playoffs, as one would probably expect, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they have a game starting on the 15th. New England Patriots will also play. Of course, we have the predetermined notion. So who's going to start, Jason? So when you look at the pairings between who the Patriots will face, who the Steelers will face, who is your best guess moving to Wild Card Weekend will play the New England Patriots in Foxborough?
I honestly believe it could be like the worst case scenario for them, because I had predicted Kansas City as being the most difficult out in the playoffs other than the two favorites. And they're the one team that is like kryptonite to the Patriots. So that's who I had figured on that they would see, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. And the rundown plays like this. You have the Titans today at 135 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Let's talk about that game first, because that could have the obvious player, or I should say player and players, going from a wild card to contend in a playoff situation, find themselves one step closer to getting into the Super Bowl. Of course, every team wants to do that year in and year out. But let's talk about the Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Tennessee Titans have been relatively inconsistent. I look at Marcus Mariota and I think to myself, if he doesn't step into the pocket and follow his reads through, he's going to continue throwing interceptions just like he did against Pittsburgh. He threw 4 interceptions to a variety of players. And when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they're playing at home. They're relatively favored because they've been the more consistent offensive. However, they did fall off. They lost 6 games in a row, but now heading to a 4-game win streak. When you look at Tennessee, they're going to have no Delaney Walker. He's out against Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be a sideline guy for the entire game. But when I look at guys like Henry, I don't know that the Tennessee Titans, not only are they playing in Arrowhead, but they're playing without one of their key players. How consistent is Marcus Mariota? Does he get a playoff win against Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium today?
I don't see how it happens. He's the type of quarterback right now, one, that doesn't have a ton of talent around him. But if they don't make plays for him early, if he throws an interception in that first half, he will melt down, as you saw him against Pittsburgh. That's just the way I view him. And that's just because of the talent level around him. So in my opinion, I think I made a prediction of 31-12. I think that's real close.
You know, I'll be honest with you. My brother's a Chiefs fan. And so his whole thing was early on is that the Chiefs would be the number 1 seed in the AFC, and, talks of genre and fandom, and that's all great and wonderful. But it seems as though there are certain teams that have spread formations defensively that could really give Kansas City problems. I don't know that the Titans have, and at times defensively they've they haven't done a lot of green man coverage. The man zone is kind of weak at times. They don't get the nickel over, and at that point it's already too late. If your nickel safety has to get involved, and the Chiefs know how to spread you around, especially with that play action with Akeem Hunt and Travis Kelce that can just stick you in the flat, throwing that ball over the middle can really hurt those linebackers and DBs. But I look at the Titans. They've been very inconsistent on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know that they're going to have enough against Alex Smith. But the biggest question for the Chiefs is, do they get an opportunity to spread that ball out like they want to? Travis Kelce, obviously the number one weapon. Do you see Alex Smith taking advantage of mismatches between Kelce and the defensive core for the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I mean, if you look at the whole body of work for him this year, Alex Smith, who I'm speaking of, he's got 4,000 passing yards. They started out hot, went through a dead period. As soon as Andy Reid gave up the play calling, his game took off again. They were able to find Kelce in perfect situations. His game itself is short passes, let his guys make plays, and then he takes a couple of shots. So, he's going to throw the ball 45 times today. And I think that's just how he plays, and that's their formula.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a really solid Kansas City Chiefs drive and to stay consistent, especially on third down, where they haven't really converted to bring more downs to a much needed offense. I mean, most of the time, the Chiefs will settle for those 3-point field goals to help push their lead out a little bit further, not take any type of commanding lead. You've seen that in the other half of the season. I don't know that the Titans will have enough to beat the Chiefs, especially at Arrowhead, where it's extremely loud, extremely disruptive, and Marcus Mariota, I don't believe at any point whatsoever today gets a playoff win. I think the Chiefs win. I don't know that it's going to be 31-17, but I think it's certainly going to be in the double digits, at least in the high double digits for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs go on winning 21-14 in a real close one, because at times the Titans defense mimics what the Chiefs do up front. Now, I know they have Justin Houston, but Justin Houston also been very inconsistent and almost non-existent. So I look for him to possibly get on a better start and take the house to the Tennessee Titans, forcing them out early, especially in a wild card round. Let's talk about the next game. We're looking at and I know Buffalo's in an uproar right now. They're having fun. They're loving what they're doing. They're in the playoffs. And if you're a fan of the Bills, you know how this story goes. You look at Buffalo. They've been to the Super Bowl 4 times and have lost all 4 games. Now, is that a haunting cloud? Maybe. Maybe something that follows you like Linus with a dirty blanket and a cloud of dust. But it's not going to be as ugly, and here's why. Jacksonville Jaguars with Blake Bortles. I don't know if Blake Bortles is consistent enough to win a playoff game. Leonard Fournette, not the same guy as he was earlier in the season. I look for the Buffalo Bills to make it very difficult, especially with the RPO, for those that don't know, run-pass option, as a part of that Bills offensive set. And I think they'll really give the Jaguars problems. Will the Bills get the win? What do you think?
The way I saw this and the way I wrote, I see the Bills keeping it within the spread. The major question mark for me is Tyrod Taylor. He is truly, and I think I described him as the box of chocolates, because you really don't know what you're going to get from him. He is a total wild card. As for the offense, the other part of the offense, LaShawn McCoy hurt himself last week. He's going to play this week, but he's on a gimpy ankle. He's not 100% or anywhere close. And Jacksonville, although I'm not the biggest Blake Bortles fan, I believe have just too many weapons. And I don't mean going to score 60 points type of weapons. I just think their defense is too good. I think their defense is just way too good, and will keep – the game will be close, but I just don't see them it turning into a gigantic blowout, and I just don't see the Bills formulating enough points to win today. I just don't.
Well, I can tell you this. I look at the Bills and I think to myself, wouldn't it be great to find a way to be disruptive offensively, to use McCoy with that gimpy ankle, as you stated, to really give the Jaguars problems. Look, Tyrod Taylor needs to get over the hump. He doesn't want to be put in the list of quarterbacks. Carson Palmer retiring, never won a Super Bowl, went in the playoffs, but fell off very, very early. But one of those quarterbacks where can Tyrod Taylor help lead this team past the Jacksonville Jaguars? I don't know that they can. I have to pick the Jaguars in this because they have way too many weapons, and they have a very stifling defense. They're great in pass coverage at times. I don't know if that was apparent against the 49ers, but when I look at Jacksonville, I look for them to really take it to Buffalo, but it's not going to be this monstrous 31-14 type of game. They're going to keep it low scoring. I think it's 17-14. Jaguars get the W.
I think that's probably fairly close, but I don't know if I give the Bills that many points.
Look, if it's in Buffalo, anything can happen because they have the weather on their side. Jacksonville hasn't been prone to play in conditions like that. And don't forget, and you know this probably better than anybody else or better than I. I'm here on the West Coast. You're on the East Coast and closer than I am. But there's a huge torrential weather storm going on right now. New England was pounded with nothing but 17, almost 2 feet of snow. So I don't know that the Jaguars will be able to do that. And again, I believe the Bills give them problems because they're used to and accustomed to playing in those types of conditions. Whether weather's a factor, nobody knows, but we're certainly going to find out. But again, Jaguars get the W there. Let's switch over to the NFL wildcard game, Falcons and Rams. We were talking about this offline. We were talking about, I mentioned Aaron Donald. I know this is probably something that you're going to laugh at from the onset, but I think the Rams get the win, and here's why. Aaron Donald on the defensive line, he can line up front. He gives you problems on the exterior. He's able to track down running backs. He knows how to tackle for loss. That should be his middle name, tackle for TFL for sure, if you want it accurate. I think that's Aaron Donald's middle name because he's been doing it all season long. More interesting enough, you're going to have Todd Gurley, who's been doing absolutely fantastic things for the Los Angeles Rams this year, showing his diversity, showing his utilitarian mentality, being able to pick up the blocks, be put in the flat, have a huge part of that running game. So, and to be honest with you, the Atlanta Falcons, not so good. Sarkis has some problems from the offensive coordination position. This is his first year with the Falcons, come over from SC, and then 2 other collegiate teams before that. But look, I'll be honest with you. I look at Matt Ryan, not very sharp, especially in the games that they really needed to win. And, of course, the most staple of wins was against the Saints the second time around when Breeze threw the interception to seal that game winner, which certainly helped them, especially in the NFC South. I don't know if the Falcons have enough to get it done offensively or even defensively for that matter. Who do you like in this game and why? As we talked before we came on, I'm in a minority, and I'm fine with that. It's not that I think Atlanta is better than the Rams, because I don't. I think the Rams are a far better team. But during the playoffs, and it's just like it's every league. It's not just the NFL. Experience matters. And I just think the Falcons will do enough to not just, cover in this game, but I think they'll do enough to upset the Rams. In the other issue, as I said, and as we talked about, I know the Rams were resting guys, trying to figure some things out, trying to give their starters a blow. They're too young a team to me to do that. I mean, they got a quarterback who was, he's great. He's played great this year. Jared Goff's been great this year. But this is his first year. So you rest 5, 7, 10-year veterans. You don't rest a kid who's just his first year of real, NFL professional football. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. That's my opinion. I think Gurley has an opportunity to really play well today. But Atlanta can score. They can score. They prove it, and they got the best wide receiver on the field. Well, they're certainly going to put the test onto the field today as they fly to Los Angeles to play at the Coliseum against the LA Rams. That game starts at 5:15 Eastern time. And, of course, tomorrow's game, this is kind of interesting. I didn't know that Ron Rivera and his contract situation enabled him to get a 2-year deal done in Carolina, 2 or 3 years, a 2 or 3 year extension on a contract that was already falling out. But good news for the Panthers is that they'll have Ron Rivera through 2020 at least. And, of course, if that's the vision, that they have, then certainly 2020 is where they're headed to. But we're talking about the Panthers and the Saints here. I'm not a believer in Cam Newton. There's a lot of reasons why. Has a lot to do with Super Bowl 50. Has a lot to do with his mentality. Has nothing to do with the garb. Okay, he can wear whatever he wants. If he wants to wear a muumuu, he can wear a muumuu. If he wants to wear a feather in his hat, he can wear a feather in his hat and a pair of boxers. Right. You know, it doesn't matter. I have a lot of questions, and I know Carolina may have overlooked all of that as he was headed out of Auburn into their system. Great in college. He's been great in the NFL, but when I say great, I mean great in a regular season, great in a Super Bowl appearance, great. Was he MVP worthy that year? No, I don't believe he was, and I still don't believe that he is now. And Cam Newton could be the ultimate shortcoming for how far or how not so far that the Carolina Panthers can go in the playoffs, and they're going up against a very, very solid New Orleans Saints team with Drew Brees. You have Kamara, you have Ingram. On the other side of the ball, you have Lattimore. You have a team on both sides of the ball for New Orleans Saints that I don't believe the Panthers can stop. I'm picking the Saints for Drew Brees, Ingram, Kamara, Lattimore, and a lot of 50 other reasons why the New Orleans Saints will take care of the Carolina Panthers. I just don't believe the Panthers have enough defensively. They've been soft in coverage at times. Up front, the running game is kind of sort of non-existent. I think they're an easy out, and they remind me a lot of Seattle. Had Seattle have gotten to this point to get into a wild card round, which they did not, means that they're very one-dimensional. Are the Panthers that one-dimensional? No, but I think they're one-dimensional enough to have the New Orleans Saints blow them out. I'm picking this one 28-21 Saints.
You got it closer than me. I think it's going to be closer to a 35-14, 35-10 type of game. I honestly believe that, this is Brees' last opportunity, in my opinion, to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're talented enough or good enough to do it, but this is as close as they're going to get. And I don't think the Carolina Panthers have enough. And as you stated earlier, I have no faith in Cam Newton. I just don't. He's never done anything enough to prove to me that he can win big games. And he has to be the driving force.
He does. If he does not play well, if he shorts himself, he is shorting his entire team because it's resting on his shoulders. Does he have the maturity enough? I mean, you've looked at him for quite a few years now. Does Cam Newton have the maturity level and honestly have the maturity level to get this Panthers team or himself to the next level on a personal note in order to help his team become that much better if for some reason they fall short against the Saints, which I believe they will today?
I don't see it. Not right now. Maybe later, but not right now.
Well, but you don't have much time, though. But you don't have much time in the NFL. You have probably 10 or 15 years. There are a couple exceptions to that rule. James Harrison is one. Then you're a kicker, but you're just a kicker. So you can be 40-plus years old, and 3-yard field goal and everything's, golden, and you're on for another 3 years because you want to get a winner. I mean, a kicker's a kicker, man. There's, look, I'm not taking anything away from them, but they're there for one situational play. That's it. There's, there are a lot of exceptions to that rule. Chris Boswell, over 96%. When kicking from 20-plus yards out. So I'm a believer, and I'm a Boswell believer. But as far as other kickers is concerned, that's a whole nother story. So let's kind of move forward here. We're not talking conference rounds as yet to be determined. We can talk divisional rounds, and I want to talk about the Eagles a little bit more explicitly, and here's why. I'm not a believer in Nick Foles, not yet, until he wins a playoff game and goes deep into the playoffs, and I know they're in Philly. All games go through Philadelphia in the NFC, and that's great. But I'm not sure that Nick Foles is the guy, and I believe that if he stays there and if he does things, let's just say menial, his checkdowns have been okay. Some of the long bombs have been okay, but he's no Case Keenum. He's no Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford winning first 4 games for Minnesota this year. I don't know that the Eagles have enough to even get through to any type of Super Bowl conversation as long as Nick Foles is a quarterback. What is your perspective on Nick Foles? Is he the guy in Philly moving forward, or do you see him maybe being dealt to another team in the offseason?
No, I mean, he's a backup. In my opinion, he's a backup, and that's it. I mean, that's Carson Wentz's team, period. And Nick Foles is just good enough to be the backup. You saw the offense in the last couple of weeks. It's inconsistent at best, scoring 10, 15, 20 points, whatever it was. He's just not very good. He's not very consistent, and he's not very accurate as a thrower.
And that's kind of the problem. That is the problem that I have, is the fact that he doesn't have that great arm. He doesn't have great pocket awareness. He makes very inconsistent. Sometimes it's almost as if he doesn't want to step into the pocket to make the throw because he's going to take the hit. And
that's exactly right.
If you're a quarterback that has that type of mentality, you're not going to get it down the field. You're not going to get the completions. You're not going to even get close, even to get, we were talking about game-winning field goals, to put your kicker in position to win the game. And I think that's one of the reasons why, and I completely agree with you when you're talking about how he's a backup. I still think that he is a backup. I think he'll always be a backup unless for some reason he comes through and gets into the Super Bowl. That will answer a lot of questions for a lot of Nick Foles haters out there who'll be putting down their haterade to look at him playing in one of the biggest games of the year in the NFL. So let's go to New England. We're talking about how much snow has impacted them or lack thereof. And, of course, New England having tons of issues right now is uncovered by an ESPN reporter. Now, of course, you know as well as I do that at times, and it's been noted that ESPN has inflated, opposite of deflate, inflated or overly inflated certain stories, and this is certainly one of them. You look at the Patriots, you look at what is going on between Kraft and Belichick and Brady, and I had a conversation with a guy at a sports store yesterday. He's very affluent to what's going on in New England because he's a fan, and he spends a lot of time looking at what the New England Patriots have done. However, I believe Jimmy Garoppolo was dealt a very positive hand for him, not necessarily for the franchise, and I'm speaking of the New England Patriots, because of Brady wanted to be the man there. He made his play to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick went to Kraft. Bob Kraft said, you know what? We need to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. How do we do? We need to keep Tom Brady happy. And I think at this point, it's all been about keeping Tom Brady happy. I mean, what team would not want to pick up a guy like Tom Brady for some reason? And for the life of me, the New England Patriots decided to shovel off to another team. Everybody would. Anybody and everybody would not mind having a Tom Brady in their system. But I believe the only reason why Tom Brady is just that good is because Belichick has been that much better. And I think that's one of the reasons why Tom Brady is still there.
I agree. I mean, if you look at what Brady did in college, he never struck you in college as a guy that was going to be this type of player. So for those out there that want to point to Brady being the reason this team is great and has won, 5 Super Bowls and been to 7 or whatever, it's not him as much as it is his coach. And the fact that Bob Kraft came out and he was the one who distributed the release, and it wasn't Belichick coming out saying, everything's fine and whatever. That was telling to me. That was telling to me. It sounds a lot like Bob Kraft and Brady had a lot more to do with Garoppolo leaving than I first thought, and that's a shame. That's a shame because Bill Belichick likes to put people in place right as he's getting ready to get rid of the old guys. He had it exactly where he wanted it, and they pulled the rug out from under him. So it'll be an interesting couple of weeks to see if they can look beyond that and play, and if they can stay focused.
I think focus for the New England Patriots hasn't ever been a question, and for anybody. I don't think it's been a question for ownership. I don't think it's been a question for Tom Brady. I don't think it's been a question or at any point whatsoever, and almost freakishly, how much the timing of this. Could it be a distraction? Could the New England Patriots find a way to have this story affect what they're going to do in the playoffs?
I mean, it's conceivable, and I just can't believe the timing of the whole thing. I just can't believe it.
Makes you wonder.
Well, it does, and this is so very un-Belichick, very un-New England Patriot-like. They're normally solid. They don't play games in the press. They don't air their dirty laundry. How this story even got out is beyond me. It does make you wonder what's going on behind closed doors.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think there's a lot more to this situation than what we're getting even from that story. There's so many issues that could ultimately be a distraction and could distract the New England Patriots as a unit, disabling them from getting to the illustrious Super Bowls that they're accustomed to getting into. So moving forward, whether or not you see Bill Belichick as a New York Giants head coach next year, that remains to be seen. There's a lot of rumors surrounding that. I don't know that will happen, but if it does, the New York Giants could not have gotten a better coach in Bill Belichick to get those pieces around him. What does the Mora family do at this point in New York? Well, that also remains to be seen. There's been a lot of interviews in the NFL from teams that are not participating in the wild card, much less divisional playoffs. Speaking of divisional playoffs, we're talking about the Steelers. There's a lot of rumors around Antonio Brown and his availability to come back into the playoff system. Of course, they don't play their game until January 15th. At home, or depending on whether or not Jacksonville wins, it's a huge hodgepodge of determinations where the Steelers will play, whether it be at home or anywhere else. However, Antonio Brown's looking good. He's looking a lot better, more than just being on a treadmill. He has ran some routes, very minimum amount of routes. You look at Antonio Brown, 1 interceptions, 1 in touchdowns. I mean, he has created an MVP conversation until that injury, and now he's trying to fight his way back. Do you see Antonio Brown in the playoffs? And if so, is he the same Antonio Brown that you're accustomed to seeing during the regular season?
I don't believe he's going to be the same guy, at least in the first game, but he's going to play. I mean, from all accounts and from what I've heard, there is little chance he doesn't play. Little chance. So you'll see him. He'll be a factor. He may not be the factor, but he will be a factor.
I think once you put Antonio Brown on the field, he is always a factor. He will always be a factor. He's always going to be the guy that wants to get double teamed because he wants to make you believe that he can beat you. And that's one of the things that Antonio Brown has done time and time again with circuits-type catches. I think the Steelers will end up finding themselves in very solid presence. And, of course, frame of mind always comes into consideration when you have Antonio Brown on the field versus not having him. So last but never least, talking about the Minnesota Vikings and wishing they could be home for a Super Bowl, that being Super Bowl 52 at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. Of course, that's a California accent for those that actually live in Minnesota. But when you look at Minnesota, they have their bye as well, so good for them. Gives them a chance to get that much better. We're talking about the Vikings. Of course, their opponent remains to be seen. We're certainly going to find that out up and forthcoming in Wildcard Saturday. Jason, tell everybody where they can find you and how they can get a hold of all of your great material at DYST Pittsburgh on Twitter.
You can follow us, obviously, on the website, dystpittsburgh.com. You can catch me on Twitter at DYST and you can catch my whole group at Golfmonger, the whole group, at Zachary M. Weiss on Twitter. We got a great group of writers, and dial in and take a look.
It's definitely worth it. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate it. Go to dyst.com. Good stuff. I love having you on, Jason. Thank you so much for taking your time out.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Rudy.
Not a problem. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Yep.
As we exit from the NFL playoffs, I was trying to get this young lady on some time ago, and of course, situations happen, things happen, well, life happens. But speaking of life, welcome my next guest here, who has a book. If you didn't know, she's an accomplished author. I didn't have a chance to read any cliff notes. Forgive me in advance, but the struggle is real. And when I talk about the struggle being real, sometimes we all struggle at things that we otherwise probably would have not thought that we would. But my next guest has certainly accomplished a lot. She's an Olympic hopeful. She's an ab-obsessed trainer. Now, I don't mean she has an abscess, but she's an ab-possessed trainer. If you want to know more about my next guest, go to queenofabs.com. Welcome, Santia. Santia, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming on. We're trying to get this worked out. So how was your holiday season, and what's going on right now?
It was very good. It's still very cold. It snowed a little bit down here. The weather, like I said, is still pretty rough out here. But other than that, I mean, everything has been wonderful.
Excellent. Well, glad to hear it. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking your time out to join me today. I wanted to inquire with you, and I know I connected with you on LinkedIn, but more importantly, I looked at a lot of the YouTube videos that you have, and you have a physical obsession with fitness. There's that word obsession again. How has it enabled you to have the current successes you've witnessed despite being a real male-dominated sports world? You know, we have football, we have baseball, and, you know, soccer and things of that nature. It's all male-driven. How is your success being, let's just say, looked at or should be looked at more carefully in what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I've always been in the fitness world, literally since I could walk. My first sport was tennis. Then I ran track. I played soccer a little bit. I ended up sticking in track. That's my main sport. I played all the way. I ran all the way through college. I got a full scholarship at Texas A&M Kingsville. And then I graduated, and I ran 2 more years. And then I recently just stopped, and now I'm doing football. So me just being physical or being physically active all the time, having brothers, just always doing something definitely has poured into my success, because I was training, didn't even know it. You know, playing around my brothers, kissing the football, doing speed and drills and for fun. And now it's funny that I'm doing that, you know, seriously now to get, you know, in shape and everything for my sport. So honestly, just having the opportunity to be active, and which I feel like a lot of people are missing nowadays, definitely kids. With all the technology, they're not going outside anymore. They're not playing tag anymore. They're not out there playing, you know, backyard football. So they don't have the same, you know, they don't have the same activities we had when I was younger. So I feel like definitely just having that background has helped me. And as far as me being in a male-dominated sport, and how that has affected my success or anything like that, honestly, of course, I'm always going to get backlash because it is a male-dominated sport, and a lot of men still feel like females should not play football. And what I try to tell people, I just want to make this clear, you know, while I'm on air, I never said that I wanted to play with men. I want to compete with women on the highest level. I just want our playing fields and our platforms to be equal as far as us, you know, getting paid to do it, our exposure, different things like that. Because I don't know if you guys have watched LFL before, but it's pretty brutal. Even the all women's paddle league, where, you know, it's not LFL, it's very brutal. So we're out there taking the same hit, having the same risk, you know, involved in the same sport. So why not make everything equal? But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
You actually raised a very, very good point, and there's so many different things about male-dominated sports that women don't get an equal playing field on. You spoke about an open playing field to have the equality, and I have watched LFL games. I have watched how women have, you know, done. Of course, I'll put it this way: the LFL is good if you want to play ball. Does it expose you to the best being the best? Not necessarily, because the LFL, and not to take anything away from what those women do or what they have done or what they continue to do, I give them props for even trying to play, even wanting to play. I've interviewed a couple of them, but over time, you're still getting to a point where you're almost as if you're running into a brick wall because there's no progression. You still don't get the type of audience. You don't get the same type of respect. You don't get the same type of viewership. The audience is there when they feel like it a lot. I think it's similar to that to Arena Football League. I know there may be a little bit more of a difference, and I think it has a lot to do with it being a male-dominated sport than it is a female-dominated sport. However, I will tell you this. I looked at your videos, and, of course, this is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. I have Santia Deck before that, Jason Havelka. But, Santia, I looked at your cuts. I mean, when you're on the field and you spread out to the right side, I can imagine you having pads on. But even without pads, you have sharp feet, you cut, you turn, you do all of those NFL type of running back moves. And I've seen running backs in the NFL do it, and then I see you do it. I think to myself, man, now I know you stated you don't want to play with men, and that's, that sounds more like a movie. I think there's a lot more truths to women being able to play in the NFL in some positions, but I think that if you can take the hit and you're fully padded, shoulder pads and having all those, you have shin pads and all of that, I think that you could end up taking the hit and being a situational back. You personally, I really do. And when
well, that's a compliment. Thank you.
No, you're definitely welcome. No, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because I think most people either don't know you, if they don't, they should. They should go check out queenofabs.com. There's a lot of great stuff on there as well. A lot of videos and a lot of things where you feel as though what you're trying to accomplish is to let people know that you can be active, you can get out there. It's not like you're out there and your whole point is to make a statement. Your whole point is to let people know that you are capable, that you are pliable, you're durable, and you can get the job done. And I think a lot of people are actually missing that now, especially with women in the LFL and how arena football's recent news for those people that really don't know. A Florida Arena Football League team decided to disband. So now you have one less arena football team as a part of the system itself. It's a shame, I know. But the biggest question is whether or not that will help kind of put the segue into where women need to be taken more seriously in the sport of football. What are your thoughts?
I hope it does. Because like I said before, I heard what you said about the LFO, which is very true. Because there's not an up to it. Because I've only been playing one season. I only played one season. And it was quite an experience. But because I do believe in, elevating, I was like, okay, what's next? Because it is hard with of course, what we have to wear, which is unfortunate that for whatever reason they don't want to put clothes on us. I don't know.
You know why? You know why? There's no men want to look at the women and they pull the men in with what they're wearing to get the men to watch. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
True. Well, yeah, you're right. And I was a fan of that. That's the biggest reason, our biggest issue I had was playing it also, among others. But that's to get to the point that I'm trying to make. I think that there needs to be a women's division and everything, whether, like I said, whether it's football or, because, where every other sport does have something. But unfortunately, like the WNBA, they don't have any exposure. They barely get paid. A lot of them are still working 9 to 5. And I think that's ridiculous, because this is my thing. What is the point of making our sport, letting women have sports, if we're working, from the ages of 5 and 6, just like boys, to grow up and not even what we've been working for our life?
No, you know.
What kind of dream is everybody feeding us? Because it's like we're working for free. Like, I don't really understand. Because when boys are little, they know, okay, well, if I go to the NFL, I get to take care of my family. But as women, it's like, oh, yeah, I grow up, but now I still have to work a 9 to 5. And still get hit and go to practice every day, sacrifice being a mom or being a whatever, just being an athlete for free. and I never understood that. And how is that okay? How is that, tolerated?
I'll be you're asking questions that are above my pay grade. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. When I look at a male-dominated sport, and obviously we're talking about football, probably more so specifically the fact that I think women can wear pads, they can wear the helmets, the full gear, top to bottom, shin guards, the whole 9 yards, obviously minus the jock strap. That's not needed. But I think that the LFL can evolve from a sport with just women simply playing in this maniacal, unnecessary lingerie type uniform to become popular and be taken more seriously if they weren't adding those sexual connotations to the outfit that they're wearing. Now, I know it's hard to believe. Men are probably saying, what is your problem? And here's why I have a problem with that. It's sexism. I think women deserve, if they are athletically gifted enough to play in a formidable league from coast to coast, and I'm reaching big time. I'm reaching in my bag of tricks because I think that this is really something that's missing. I believe that, and for some it may be hard to believe, but when you look at what lays next to the 30-year out, the 40-year out from where we're at right now, I think progression is where it's at in the sporting world. People want to see different sports. When you look at boxing, and you can tell me yes or no or whatever your opinion is, boxing has nothing on the UFC. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The UFC is a completely evolved sport from where boxing was. And I think that's one of the reasons why UFC is so big, so monumentally large. Boxing is now taking a back seat to what is now taking the front seat over. They're the drivers of their limo. They're the drivers of the train. And I think that women's football, if somebody out there, there's an entity, whether it be the NFL, maybe there could be a WNFL, just like there is a WNBA. You're picking up what I'm throwing down. So I think there could be something from an evolutionary standpoint as to where women belong in a professional football environment, just like men are in their professional environment. The WNFL would be a fantastic way to get women who work hard, who want to be taken seriously, who want to play at a level where they can also be paid by somebody who wants to own a team, right? But it's not always about money. It's about enjoying what you do. So if you enjoy what you do, Santia, which I believe you do, because you believe in athleticism, you believe in equality, you believe that you have a talent set and a skill set that will enable any team that was to draft you. Of course, you have to have a draft process, or whoever that might be, to be taken seriously and to play at the next level. And the LFL is not the next level. Like I said, I take nothing away from what they do. What they do is what they do. That's their organization. But I think that a WNFL league for women that are talented, they're gifted, they're athletic, and they can make an impact. I guarantee people are out there saying, wow, is this real? Can we do this? And the answer is yes. If you're serious enough to put something together, follow an NFL mold or NFL-esque type organizational chart, rather, I'll be honest with you, I think there's enough women out there that have been wanting to play in a professional football system outside of the LFL. What have you been doing to keep yourself in top-notch shape, so that way if a WNFL team wants to call you, or if you can have that conversation, you'd be ready to go?
Well, I'm always training because I'm either doing, the tackle football, or I'm doing flags. So I have to be in shape regardless of, what happens. So that's part of my life is staying in shape. Even outside of sports, I'm a fitness trainer. So I'm a fitness model as well. So I always have to keep my body in tip-top shape, anyways. But I'm always ready for any opportunity. I know that recently I've been asked to come out and maybe see how I would do in rugby. So I might actually see, how I do in that sport. But, of course, I would still like to hopefully one day be able to play on the same field that these men are in the NFL. And, maybe even if it's just getting out there for one play, like one play, and just having a chance to possibly score, I think that would be cool. But like I said, I do understand the physical difference between a man and a woman. And I would be lying if I said I would gladly take a hit, by somebody in the NFL, because I wouldn't. I wouldn't even try that. But I would, if the opportunity ever came to just, get out there and run the ball one time and just see what happens, I might, why not?
Exactly, and there's no reason why not. There's no reason why not. Santia Deck joins me here right on the Rude Dog Show. Santia, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. It was great talking to you, and I know you've been obviously busy, and I think this WNFL thing could actually be something, and to put women that have otherwise, have been sitting on the couch or thinking to themselves, man, I could do that. I can get that done. I can make it happen. I can be the energy. I can be the quarterback. And I know some women that have some great arms. So it just makes you wonder, and they're all over YouTube. You've seen them. Santia, thank you so much for joining. Everybody want to know more about Santia Deck and something more possibly I didn't cover or more about her. Follow her